Welcome to Hollywood Today, where things escalate quickly and nothing stays under wraps for long. Insiders in London are calling this Prince William's Iron Wall, a strategy that feels calculated and cold. Simply ignore the Sussexes until they quietly disappear from the spotlight. King Charles reportedly shut down a $59 million situation without blinking, and that decision sent a strong message. The financial door is firmly closed, and loyalty is clearly not something the crown takes lightly. Things took a sharp turn when Meghan Markle stepped into that now-talked-about polo moment and crossed a line that many in London won't easily forget. What seemed like a minor music confusion quickly turned into an uncomfortable scene that had insiders reacting with concern. Prince William didn't say much, but his silence carried more weight than words. Now, Meghan is increasingly being seen as someone the royal circle no longer trusts. And the tension isn't staying confined to royalty, it's spilling into Hollywood as well. Jeremy Zimmer openly labeled her incompetent, while at the same time, palace connections appear to be quietly dissolving, raising plenty of eyebrows. That overlap has people talking, questioning whether opportunities are closing off from multiple directions at once. Then came the polo trophy incident that really set the tone. Meghan stepped forward, taking control of the spotlight and edging past Sophie Shandoka during the presentation. On camera, the moment felt tense and awkward, and many viewers saw it as more than just a simple misstep. It came across as a calculated move for attention. Jeremy Zimmer, CEO of United Talent Agency, then made a statement that stunned Hollywood insiders. After the $20 million Spotify deal collapsed in 2023, he didn't sugarcoat anything. He was direct. Zimmer said Meghan Markle wasn't a strong audio talent, or really any kind of standout talent. That comment landed hard in an industry that usually avoids blunt criticism. In Hollywood, people don't speak that openly unless they truly mean it. His words spread quickly and sent a clear signal. Major studios and streaming platforms began viewing the Sussex brand as a liability rather than an asset. The shift was noticeable and changed how deals were being evaluated behind the scenes. Then Meghan made a bold move by signing with WME, UTA's biggest competitor, which only intensified the situation. It stopped looking like just business. It felt more like a power struggle between major industry players, with Meghan caught in the middle. Now in 2026, the effects are becoming more visible. Hollywood and royal circles, usually operating separately, seem to be quietly aligning in the same direction, and people are paying attention. The strategy itself sounds simple, but its impact is significant: content starvation. For years, the Sussex brand relied heavily on royal access as its core appeal. Major deals with Netflix and Spotify were built around promises of insider stories from the House of Windsor. But that access has now been tightly cut off. Prince William's so-called Iron Wall has shifted everything. Royal events are now highly restricted, and communication is reportedly limited to controlled channels. Without fresh royal insights, the couple has been pushed into a different lane, moving toward lifestyle-focused content. But that transition hasn't landed as expected. By early 2026, the financial picture became clearer. Reports indicated that the original $100 million Netflix deal from 2020 had been reduced to a first-look agreement, meaning no guaranteed payouts without proven performance. That's a significant downgrade, no matter how it's presented. Then came the release of With Love, Meghan, a lifestyle series expected to dominate its space. Instead, it struggled to gain traction, reportedly ranking well below expectations on the platform. Even strong supporters began to fall silent, and insiders noticed a shift in how the project was being perceived behind closed doors. A deeper, more symbolic change is now taking place, and it's hard to ignore. Reports about so-called ghost warehouses are raising serious concerns about the brand's authenticity. While products were marketed as handmade and crafted in a cozy Montecito setting, investigations by Tom Bauer and industry insiders suggested a very different reality. Instead of small-scale, handcrafted production, sources traced the products back to large industrial facilities in places like Ohio and Illinois. That sharp contrast between the carefully crafted image and reality spread quickly, with critics calling it misleading and damaging to credibility. Now, the financial strain is becoming harder to overlook. Reports suggest that millions worth of unsold inventory is sitting in storage, and partners are quietly searching for ways to offload it without taking heavier losses. At the same time, increasing costs and mounting pressure behind the scenes are leading to talk of difficult decisions ahead. If the polo incident highlighted social distance, IRS filings are now revealing financial pressure building at a rapid pace. By March 2026, the idea of complete financial independence is facing serious challenges. Maintaining a luxury, global lifestyle requires substantial income, and current numbers suggest it's not keeping up as it once did. The 2024 Form 990 filings for the Archewell Foundation, now operating as Archewell Philanthropies, have drawn attention across the nonprofit sector. In 2021, the organization brought in over $13 million and showed strong momentum. But by 2024, that figure dropped significantly to around $2.1 million, with most of it reportedly coming from a single anonymous donor. That kind of decline points to a major shift in public support. Meanwhile, expenses remained high, exceeding $5 million and resulting in a notable annual loss. That imbalance is difficult to ignore, especially for donors paying close attention. The filings also suggest limited weekly involvement from the founders, which has sparked criticism in certain circles. Now, insiders are pointing to internal restructuring and tighter operations as pressure continues to build behind the scenes, with tough decisions becoming unavoidable. By late 2025, their team began shrinking rapidly. At least 5 senior executives stepped away, including key positions such as Director of Communications and Head of Operations. One of the most notable departures was James Holt, a longtime ally of Prince Harry, whose return to the UK signaled that the original inner circle was starting to break apart. This situation goes beyond staffing changes. It raises questions about long-term sustainability. Maintaining a high-profile lifestyle in California while holding on to royal-level expectations comes with significant costs. Analysts estimate their annual expenses fall between $3 million and $4 million, and that figure adds up quickly. Security alone represents a major expense. After losing UK-funded protection, private security in the US is reported to cost up to $2 million per year. On top of that, their Montecito home carries substantial costs, including mortgage payments, taxes, and full-time staff. Legal disputes have also added financial strain over time, further increasing pressure in an already demanding situation. The inheritance Prince Harry once relied on is no longer the cushion it used to be. It's being depleted quickly. Funds from Princess Diana and the Queen Mother are now being stretched thin, especially as major deals begin to dry up. With the Spotify deal gone and Netflix shifting toward a performance-based model, the financial reality is becoming more intense. Sources suggest that Harry is feeling that pressure more than ever. As the future of the monarchy moves closer to Prince William's leadership, concerns are growing that certain opportunities could close permanently. That makes any potential attempts at reconciliation appear more strategic than emotional. At the same time, sustaining their current lifestyle isn't inexpensive. The mansion, private travel, and ongoing security all depend on consistent income and strong financial backing. Without the weight of royal connections, maintaining that level becomes increasingly difficult. In Hollywood, perception is everything, and once a label sticks, it's hard to shake. Critics have begun questioning the long-term value of the brand, especially after major projects have already revealed much of their narrative. Efforts to pivot into new areas haven't fully succeeded, and with reports of unsold products and shifting industry priorities, the pressure shows no signs of easing. The situation is tightening, and it's happening quickly. As Harry looks back toward the UK, he's being met with what insiders describe as a firm and unyielding wall. Prince William's approach is being described as straightforward but precise. Stay quiet and let everything unfold naturally. Without any response from the royal side, the Sussex brand loses one of its strongest driving forces. No access means no fresh stories, and that shift is now becoming visible where it matters most, in the numbers. By early 2026, the atmosphere in London feels completely locked down. What once seemed like a personal rift now looks more organized, almost like a long-term strategy aimed at protecting the monarchy's image. The dynamic has clearly shifted. With fewer direct responses and stricter boundaries, any attempts to reconnect are reportedly being redirected through formal channels instead of personal communication. That growing distance is making it harder for the Sussex narrative to maintain momentum, especially in an industry that depends on constant access and relevance. Please contact the Prince of Wales's legal representatives. That's the message now, and it speaks volumes. No more private conversations, no informal messages, and certainly no behind-the-scenes meetings. The tone has changed entirely, and insiders say trust has dropped to its lowest point. There's increasing concern within palace circles that any interaction could be recorded and later turned into content. That fear has reshaped how communication is handled, making everything more structured and tightly controlled. From William's perspective, this is no longer about personal relationships, it's strategic. What was once a family connection is now approached with caution, especially given ongoing media exposure and commercial projects tied to royal history. What's drawing even more attention is speculation about stronger actions ahead. Following the precedent set with Prince Andrew, where titles and roles were adjusted without waiting for Parliament, there's growing discussion about what might happen next. Some conversations are centered around limiting how certain titles are used, particularly in commercial contexts. The 2020 agreement already set boundaries on monetizing royal connections, and many believe those limits may have been stretched too far. Now, it feels like the situation could be heading toward something more formal, with potential steps that may redefine how those titles are used moving forward. Losing royal titles wouldn't just impact status, it could significantly affect income. In Hollywood, Meghan is still establishing herself as a producer, but the Duchess title holds global influence. Without that association, the value attached to major deals could decline quickly, which is why the situation carries so much weight. One of the most discussed claims in early 2026 involves alleged private recordings within royal spaces. Some sources have suggested that moments inside palace walls may have been captured during her time as a working royal. These claims haven't been publicly confirmed, but they've added another layer of tension to an already strained relationship. From the palace's point of view, trust has become the central issue. Reports indicate that senior royals are more unified than ever, with a strong focus on protecting private environments and restricting future access. That shift has made the overall atmosphere feel far more closed than before. At the same time, their presence at major international events appears to be declining. Appearances that once seemed routine are now noticeably absent, and industry observers are taking note of that change. In entertainment circles, perception shifts quickly. Comments like those made by Jeremy Zimmer didn't happen in isolation. They reflected a wider change in how the couple is being viewed across influential networks. That perception is evolving fast. In a city like Los Angeles, fame without substance doesn't last long, and that reality is becoming more visible. Without strong support or renewed momentum, staying relevant becomes increasingly difficult. Efforts to establish independent, royal-style tours have received mixed reactions. Visits to places like Nigeria and Colombia were intended to build influence, but without official backing, they raised more questions than answers. Reports surrounding travel arrangements and external connections only added further scrutiny to an already complex situation. From the UK perspective, this situation has only strengthened concerns around reputation and control. There's a growing belief that maintaining distance is necessary, and that position doesn't appear to be changing anytime soon. At the same time itself is becoming a critical factor. Without fresh content or major deals, the pressure continues to build, especially with high ongoing expenses in the background. What was once seen as a major Netflix partnership has clearly shifted in tone. Projects that were expected to lead the space are now facing a much colder reception, and the gap between expectations and actual performance is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. The concept was meant to feel aspirational and refined, a window into a lifestyle centered on organic gardening, mindful cooking, and authentic living. But when Netflix data from early 2025 was released, it painted a very different picture. Out of thousands of shows, the series ranked far lower than expected, and that contrast between hype and reality became obvious almost immediately. While the first episode attracted some initial curiosity, viewership dropped sharply afterward, with a significant decline by episode 2. Critics didn't hold back either. One review described the show as feeling more like a staged performance than a genuine lifestyle, and that critique lingered in industry discussions. Then came reports of unsold products, and that's where things escalated further. Investigations pointed to large storage facilities filled with unsold inventory tied to the brand. With millions of dollars worth of products sitting idle and early buyers raising concerns about quality, the situation quickly drew attention. What was supposed to be a strong move into the lifestyle space instead became a clear example of how quickly momentum can shift. Customers began sharing their experiences, and the feedback wasn't favorable. Some described the product as resembling a thin syrup rather than a premium preserve, and those opinions spread fast. At the center of the issue was how the product had been presented. Marketing showcased soft, curated visuals of Meghan in her Montecito garden, suggesting a hands-on, small-batch process. But later reports suggested something very different behind the scenes. Investigations in early 2026 claimed the jam was actually produced in large-scale facilities using commercially sourced ingredients. Even the jars promoted as custom-made were reportedly linked to standard mass production. That contrast between branding and reality quickly went viral. The conversation gained momentum online, with critics questioning how authentic the entire image really was. For many observers, this went beyond simple marketing. It raised broader concerns about trust. Combined with other business setbacks, it has made industry partners more cautious, placing the brand in a much more challenging position than before. Jeremy Zimmer's untalented remark didn't just land, it echoed throughout the industry. By March 2026, similar sentiment was reportedly being felt among major luxury brands. Names like Dior and Cartier were rumored to have stepped back from potential collaborations. The reasoning being discussed was straightforward. Results matter. In influencer-driven markets, status alone isn't enough. If products aren't selling, titles don't carry the same influence they once did. Reports of unsold inventory only reinforced that perception, raising questions about real commercial impact. One industry insider summarized it clearly. Meghan sits in a difficult position, too well-known to ignore, yet too polarizing to guarantee returns. That kind of positioning makes brands cautious, especially in the luxury space. Even Netflix appears to be adjusting its approach. Promotion around Sussex-related content has slowed, and the deal structure now leans heavily on performance rather than guaranteed payouts. That places them in the same category as other production teams that need to prove value project by project. With limited access to new royal-related material, the challenge becomes even greater. The industry is watching closely, and the pressure to deliver something that genuinely connects with audiences is higher than ever. The strategy for staying relevant has clearly evolved, shifting away from traditional Hollywood projects toward international appearances. With official royal tours no longer part of the equation, Harry and Meghan began organizing their own international visits. However, the results have been mixed. Trips to countries like Nigeria, Colombia, and Australia were intended to build influence and maintain visibility, but instead, they sparked debates around planning, coordination, and overall purpose. Some critics questioned how these visits were managed, and the August 2024 Colombia trip drew particular attention. Invited by Vice President Francia Marquez, the visit had the potential to spotlight important social issues. However, parts of the public response focused on moments that felt more personal than expected, creating a noticeable disconnect from the intended message of the trip. That contrast quickly became a key talking point in media coverage. Observers pointed out the difference between the serious local challenges being highlighted and the tone of certain remarks made during the visit. Since then, some industry insiders have suggested that these appearances are increasingly being seen less as formal diplomatic efforts and more as opportunities to generate content, adding another layer of scrutiny to how these global trips are perceived. The most recent controversy emerged in early 2026 during a visit to Australia, and it triggered strong backlash. Unlike their 2018 royal tour, this trip was linked to a paid wellness event. Reports indicated that Meghan appeared as a featured speaker at a high-end retreat with expensive ticket prices. Public reaction was immediate. A petition gathered tens of thousands of signatures, with many questioning how attention and resources were being used in connection with the visit. Even statements clarifying that no public funds were involved failed to fully ease the criticism. At the same time, Harry was facing increasing legal pressure in the United States. Questions surrounding his visa status began gaining traction, adding another layer of tension to an already complex situation. The central question being raised was straightforward. Was everything properly disclosed, or was special treatment involved? That debate quickly picked up momentum. Meanwhile, with legal efforts regarding UK security already concluded, Harry's private protection costs have reportedly risen significantly. Sources suggest that this is placing considerable pressure on him. Maintaining high-level security without royal support has created a difficult balance, and it's becoming a key issue in ongoing discussions. The situation surrounding his charity also came under scrutiny. Following a widely discussed polo event, internal tensions reportedly increased, and disagreements over how to handle the situation led to his decision to step away. That move surprised many observers and added another layer to an already intense period. The decision raised eyebrows quickly, with critics arguing that long-term commitments were being replaced by short-term media-focused actions. The conversation around value versus visibility began spreading beyond Hollywood into broader public discourse. Now, the overall situation appears more complicated than ever. After returning from Australia, they seem to be facing limitations on both sides, reduced royal connections in the UK, and growing challenges within the entertainment industry. Without strong new content or a clear direction, the pressure continues to mount. What once appeared to be a bold new chapter has turned into a far more complex balancing act between public image, finances, and long-term stability. As 2026 progresses, attention is focused on what comes next in this unfolding story. The long-held belief that royal titles can only be altered through Parliament is now being reconsidered. After the precedent set with Prince Andrew, many see the process as more flexible than previously thought, and that shift is drawing significant attention. Reports suggest that Prince William has explored formal options, including potential royal measures that could limit how titles are used going forward. Rather than removing titles entirely, the focus may be on restricting their commercial use, which would have a major impact. Such a move could change everything. It would mean that deals tied to those titles could lose value almost overnight, especially in industries driven by branding and recognition. There's also ongoing discussion about how titles may be used within the family moving forward, adding another layer of complexity to the situation. At the same time, new projects and potential publications are being mentioned, which could bring even more attention to an already intense and evolving narrative. Speculation around private conversations involving Prince William and Catherine continues to circulate, although much of it remains unconfirmed. Reports about recorded notes and personal documentation have only added to the intrigue surrounding the situation. There's also increasing talk about future releases, including the possibility of another memoir. In the entertainment world, projects like that can generate strong short-term attention, but they don't always translate into long-term impact. That's where the challenge lies. Once personal stories are shared, sustaining relevance depends on what comes next, and maintaining that momentum isn't always easy in such a fast-paced industry. By 2026, the situation appears more complex than ever. Balancing royal connections with entertainment relevance is becoming increasingly difficult, especially as expectations continue to shift on both sides. Without consistent engagement or a clear direction, maintaining momentum becomes a real challenge. Now, the focus is shifting toward what the next moves will be, as pressure builds across both public image and business fronts. At the same time, conversations about possible strain in the marriage have been gaining attention, particularly in Montecito and Hollywood circles. Observers suggest the two may be moving more independently, focusing on separate paths and individual projects. Harry appears to be leaning more toward charitable efforts, while also dealing with ongoing concerns around security and finances. Meanwhile, Meghan continues to pursue opportunities in the entertainment industry, aiming to rebuild momentum in a highly competitive environment. But this situation goes beyond public image. It's about direction and long-term purpose. What began as a bold departure from royal life has led to a very different reality in 2026, where attention shifts quickly and public interest can fade just as fast. Some critics view this moment as a turning point, where earlier decisions are now revealing their full consequences. With challenges coming from multiple directions, the path ahead remains uncertain. If you made it this far, don't forget to leave a comment, subscribe, and share the video. Stay tuned for more updates, and I'll see you in the next one.